welcome to the Divine Nexus Comics YouTube channel. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy the video.
This is the story of Harry Potter and the Paradox War. The domestic tranquility of the Potter household is shattered not by a bang, but by a stutter in reality that feels like a skipped heartbeat. Harry sits in his armchair, nursing a fire whiskey and watching the flames in the grate, but the fire suddenly freezes in place, the orange tongues turning into jagged shards of crystal before snapping back to fluid motion. The silence of the house is heavy, pressing against his ears with a static whine that shouldn't be there, a subtle wrongness that makes the hair on his arms stand up. He sets the glass down, his aura instincts flaring from 0 to red line in a split second, realizing the peace he fought for in the Department of Mysteries was a lie. The family photos on the mantel flicker, the faces of his children momentarily replaced by screaming skeletons before normalizing, a horrific subliminal frame inserted into the movie of his life. Harry is on his feet, wand drawn, moving toward the source of the disturbance which seems to emanate from his own pocket. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a magically sealed containment vial. Inside, the single shard of the eternity glass he recovered is vibrating violently, glowing with a sickly, bruised purple light. The glass cracks the vial from the inside, not physically but conceptually, leaking wisps of temporal smoke that ignore the laws of physics and drift toward the front door. The smoke doesn't dissipate. It coalesces into a directional marker, pointing inevitably toward an arrival that the wards of the house have failed to detect. Harry realizes with a jolt of cold dread that the wards haven't triggered because they recognize the magical signature of the intruder as his own. The front door is blown inward, not by force, but by accelerated decay, the wood rotting into dust in the span of a breath, leaving the iron hinges hanging in empty air. Through the swirling cloud of sawdust and temporal distortion steps a figure that silences the room with its impossible familiarity. It is Harry Potter, but a version of him that has been chewed up and spat out by a century of war. He wears tattered dragon hide armor, a gray beard lines his jaw, and his left eye is covered by a patch fused to his skin with runic scarring. This stranger holds a wand that looks like bone, scorched black at the tip, and he stares at Prime Harry with a look of exhaustion so profound it feels like a physical weight. The intruder speaks. His voice raspy and layered with the echo of 1,000 shouted commands, stating simply that the timeline is hemorrhaging and they are the only 2 blood cells left to clot the wound. Prime Harry doesn't lower his wand, demanding identity confirmation through a specific secret memory involving the snitch his first year. Paradox Harry doesn't hesitate, reciting the memory but adding a grim detail about how he swallowed it because he was desperate, not just lucky, a divergence that hints at a harder life. Paradox. Harry steps fully into the light, limping slightly, and explains that destroying the eternity glass didn't fix the fracture. It merely turned a clean break into a shattered bone that is now infecting the surrounding tissue of history. He gestures to the window where the night sky has turned a bruised violet, stars streaking into long lines of light as if the earth is spinning too fast. He warns that the unmade is tracking the resonance of the glass shard Harry foolishly kept, and that they have less than a minute before the house becomes ground zero for an erasure event. The reality of the threat arrives instantly as the ceiling of the living room dissolves into a rain of digital static and blacks and creatures that look like dementors stripped of their cloaked skeletal, glitching forms made of void stuff descend with screeching audio feedback noises. Prime Harry casts a shield charm, a dome of blue light, but the creatures phase right through it, immune to standard defensive magic. Paradox Harry snarls, shoving Prime Harry aside, and unleashes a curse of pure disintegration, a jet of emerald fire that smells like ozone and sulfur. The spell hits the lead creature and deletes it from existence, leaving a momentary silence in the air before the rest of the swarm descends. Paradox Harry screams that defensive magic is useless against things that don't exist. You have to unmake them before they unmake you. The battle destroys the living room, transforming the cozy space into a war zone of flying furniture and spellfire. Prime Harry adapts quickly, realizing he can't block, so he switches to transfiguration, animating the rug to wrap around a glitch wraith, binding it in physical matter so Paradox Harry can blast it. The synergy is messy, but effective, 2 different combat styles grinding against each other like gears that almost fit. Paradox Harry is ruthless, blowing apart walls to create lines of sight, showing zero regard for the property, focused entirely on survival. He yells that they need to move, grabbing Prime Harry by the collar and twisting into apparition. Just as the floor beneath them turns into a bottomless pit of white noise, they materialize in the atrium of the Ministry of Magic, but it is a scene of absolute horror. The timeline corruption has hit here first and hardest. The fountain of magical brethren is frozen in a time loop, the water splashing up and retracting endlessly, while ministry workers are statues of salt, caught mid-stride. Paradox Harry releases Prime Harry and checks his bone wand, which is smoking, noting that the infection is spreading faster than he calculated. Prime Harry rushes to the statue of the security wizard, touching the salt surface, horrified to find it warm. These people aren't dead, they are suspended in a single-second stretch to infinity. He turns on his alternate self, demanding to know what the unmade actually is, his anger masking the terrifying realization that his world is ending. Paradox Harry reveals the truth as they sprint toward the elevators. The unmade is Silas Vane. When Prime Harry shattered the eternity glass in the pocket dimension, Vane wasn't destroyed. He was scattered across every second of the timeline simultaneously. His consciousness is now trying to pull himself back together by consuming moments, eating the now to build a body for himself. Paradox Harry explains that in his timeline, Vane succeeded, creating a dictatorship of eternal order, but here, Vane is a chaotic storm. Of hunger, they reach the lift, but the grates are fused shut. Paradox Harry simply blows them off with a blasting curse that nearly takes Prime Harry's eyebrows off. The elevator car is missing, leaving only a dark shaft echoing with the screams of the timeline. They jump into the shaft, Paradox Harry casting a cushioning charm that feels more like a slam against a mattress than a gentle landing. They land on top of a stalled elevator cart 5 floors down, the impact shaking the rusted cables. Above them, the darkness coalesces into a massive face, Silas Vane's face, stretched and distorted. Like scream mask made of television static, the unmade roars, a sound that is the backwards audio of history, and drops distinct time bomb spheres of condensed age down the shaft. Prime Harry reacts instantly, casting Depulso to banish the spheres into the walls where they detonate, causing the brickwork to age 10,000 years and crumble to dust in seconds. The elevator car gives way under the debris, plunging them down toward the Department of Mysteries. Paradox Harry jams his wand into the braking mechanism, fusing it with metal magic to screech them to a halt, sparks flying like fireworks. They pry open the doors to level 9, tumbling onto the black marble corridor, which is surprisingly intact, though the air is freezing cold. Paradox Harry explains that the department is the eye of the storm, the place where the fracture originated, and the only place they can kill Vane for good. He pulls a jagged, glowing object from his belt, a chronal spike, claiming it can pin Vane to a single moment so he can be executed. Prime Harry looks at the spike, sensing dark magic radiating from it, doubting the morality of the method but seeing no other choice. They enter the time room, which is a kaleidoscope of floating debris from their previous battle, suspended in zero gravity. In the center, hovering over the days, is the heart of the unmade, a swirling vortex of sand and light that is trying to reform into a human shape. It sees them, or senses them, and the room violently reorients. Gravity shifting sideways so the wall becomes the floor. Prime Harry adjusts effortlessly, his seeker reflexes kicking in, landing on the wall and firing a volley of stunners that pass harmlessly through the vortex. Paradox Harry yells that they need to flank it. He needs Prime Harry to distract the entity's perception while he drives the spike into its core. The plan requires Prime Harry to act as bait, exposing himself to the erasing touch of the creature. Prime Harry accepts the risk, launching himself off the wall and casting Expecto Patronum. The silver stag erupts, not to fight Dementors this time, but to act as a beacon of pure positive time and memory. The unmade shrieks, drawn to the stag like a moth to a flame, its sandy tendrils lashing out to consume the happy memory. The stag charges the vortex, its antlers locking with the swirling entropy, holding the entity in place for a crucial second. The light is blinding, a clash of silver hope and gray oblivion. Prime Harry screams with the effort, feeling his own memories being siphoned off to feed the stag, his first broomstick ride, his wedding, the birth of Albus, sacrificing pieces of his past to hold the line. Paradox Harry sees the opening and leaps from the ceiling, gravity boots clamping him to the days as he lunges forward. He doesn't just stab the vortex, he tackles it, driving the chronal spike deep into the center of the swirling mass. There is a sound like a gong being struck underwater, a dull, resonant thrum that freezes the sand in midair. The unmade solidifies, forcibly condensed into the shape of Silas Vane, who looks terrified and glitching, flickering between flesh and stone. Paradox Harry twists the spike and Vane howls, the sound echoing through time. Paradox Harry looks at Prime Harry, his face twisted in a grimace of triumph and sorrow, shouting that the anchor is set. But the victory is short-lived. As Vane is pinned, the room begins to shake violently, cracks appearing in the air itself, bleeding white light. Prime Harry realizes that pinning Vane hasn't stopped the rot. It has localized it, turning Vane into a bomb that will wipe out this specific timeline to save the others. He looks at Paradox Harry, seeing the betrayal in the older man's one good eye. Paradox Harry confesses, his voice breaking, that he didn't come to save Prime Harry's world. He came to amputate it, to save the multiverse from the rot. One healthy timeline must be sacrificed to burn out the infection. Prime Harry raises his wand, the realization hitting him harder than any curse. He is standing across from his own executioner. Prime Harry screams no, and fires a disarming charm, but Paradox Harry deflects it with a shield of solid darkness. They begin to duel, a tragic mirror match amidst the collapsing reality. Prime Harry fights to disarm and incapacitate, his movements fluid and academic. Paradox Harry fights to maim, using brutal, jagged curses that rip up the floor and turn the air into shrapnel. They trade spells at point-blank range, red light meeting green, the magical backlash causing the pinned Silas Vane to convulse. Prime Harry shouts that there has to be another way, that they don't trade lives, but Paradox Harry retorts that he has seen worlds die of this sickness and he won't let his own timeline perish for the sake of a duplicate. The duel escalates, shattering the remaining bell jars of time. Prime Harry manages to land a stupefy on Paradox Harry's shoulder, spinning him around, but the older Harry uses the momentum to swing a backhand with his bone wand, unleashing a shockwave that throws Prime Harry against the days. Prime Harry scrambles up, bleeding from the lip, and looks at the pinned Vane. He realizes the chronal spike is drawing energy from the room to fuel the explosion. If he can remove the spike, the bomb is diffused, but Vane will be free again. It's an impossible choice, death of the world or the release of the monster. Prime Harry chooses the third option. He sprints not at Paradox Harry, but at Vane. Paradox Harry realizes what Prime Harry is doing and fires a killing curse, desperation forcing his hand. Prime Harry dives, the green jet of light singing the top of his hair, and tackles Silas Vane. Instead of pulling the spike out, Prime Harry grabs Vane and the spike together and twists the apparition coordinates in his mind, aiming for the only place that can contain the explosion, the limbo dimension where Vane was trapped before. Paradox Harry screams, trying to grab Prime Harry's ankle to stop him, but he is too slow. Prime Harry, Vane, and the spike vanish in a swirl of distorted spacetime, leaving Paradox Harry alone in the silent, crumbling department of mysteries. Prime Harry lands hard on the gray, rocky terrain of the limbo dimension, still clutching the convulsing form of Vane. The chronal spike is reaching critical mass, glowing white-hot. Vane is laughing or screaming, his form destabilizing. Prime Harry knows he can't stop the detonation, but he can direct it. He stands over Vane, points his wand at the spike, and casts the strongest shield charm of his life, not around himself, but around the bomb. He is containing the blast with himself inside the radius. He thinks of Ginny, of Albus, James, and Lily, using that love to fortify the shield into an impenetrable sphere of silver light. The explosion happens silently in the void. A sphere of pure erasure expands, eating Vane, eating the spike, and washing over Harry. But the shield holds the worst of it, channeling the energy upward into the infinite gray sky of the pocket dimension rather than outward into the timeline. Harry feels his body being torn apart and knitted back together, his very existence flickering like a candle in a wind tunnel. He screams, pouring every ounce of magic he has into the shield until his wand cracks down the middle. The light fades, leaving a crater in the limbo rock. Vane is gone, erased completely. Harry lies in the center of the crater, smoking, unconscious but alive. The fabric of reality around him stabilizes. Back in the Department of Mysteries, the cracks in the air seal. The statues of the Ministry workers flesh out, gasping for air as time resumes. Paradox Harry stands alone in the time room, looking at the spot where Prime Harry vanished. He checks a magical compass on his wrist. The timeline is stable. The rot is gone. He assumes Prime Harry died to save the world. A sacrifice Paradox Harry was willing to force but didn't have to make. He lowers his head in respect, then turns to leave, planning to slip away into the multiverse. But behind him, the air shimmers. A hand, burned and shaking, reaches out of a rift. Prime Harry pulls himself back into reality, collapsing on the floor, his broken wand clattering beside him. Paradox Harry turns, eyes widening. Prime Harry looks up, weak but fierce, and whispers, "You're under arrest." Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and until next time, stay super.